Jonathan, how's it going?
Hey, Philippe. Good, good. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the pod. Thanks for coming.
Of course. Great to be here. Huge fan.
Where are you currently located?
So I'm here in Austin. Yeah.
Nice. And how's the weather these days?
It's good. It's a little bit humid, which reminds me of home in Houston. Austin usually isn't this humid. It's more usually pretty dry, but yeah, it's great.
Obviously, want to talk about captain experiences, but do want to talk a bit about your upbringing in Texas. So you mentioned that you grew up in Houston. Did you do a lot of outdoor stuff? Was it like back then that you kind of got into fishing? Yeah, how did that go?
Yeah, definitely. So, growing up, fishing was definitely part of my childhood, but, it was also really busy playing team sports, pretty much anything with a ball involved, football, lacrosse, basketball, soccer, baseball, everything. And then, also some fishing mixed in. So, my house growing up backed along the bayou in Houston. And so would go out there with friends and just grab whatever was the oldest and the smelliest in the fridge and, put it on a hook and go out there and catch some catfish. And then, would also go down to the coast around Galveston, go surf fishing with my dad, stuff like that.
Nice. Do you have a particular, like, I know I have a particular moment in my childhood where it wasn't a memorable fish, but it was a memorable fishing experience. Did you have one that where you were like, wow, that, like, I felt so incredible?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably just always go back to those catfish along the bayou as, that might not be the sexiest fishing, memory. It's not like, catching a blue marlin or something, but, that just carries a lot of sentimental value, I guess, just going back there, having your own time. As a kid, you're always pretty impatient, and you're always, playing contact sports and stuff. But then with fishing, it was just a great time to relax. And then, when you do catch a fish, it's just a huge rush of adrenaline, so that's probably what I would point to there.
Yeah, it really is. And it's not until you scale it and cook it and everything that you really get the full package because, as you said, some of them are a little bit uglier than others. I mean, trout looks a lot better than bass, just from looking at it. But
Yeah.
when you start cooking the bass, you're like, wow, this is a delicious fish. So thanks for sharing that. Moving on, I think you studied like economics or business in university. Can you tell us a bit about your journey through college?
Yeah, definitely. So, after growing up in Houston, went to school out of state at the University of Georgia. And so, majored in economics and finance there. And yeah, can't say enough about that experience. I mean, it really looking back, it feels like heaven, being in Athens, Georgia, great college town, had some great years, of college football there, and then played club lacrosse in the spring, which was a blast. So, all around just a fantastic time.
Nice. So the lacrosse season in the States is in the spring. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
Okay. I guess I have a more of a memory from junior high that it was in the fall, but I think it was just because of gym class. I don't think it was because of anything like any mandated leagues or anything.
I
Um,
got you. Well, yeah, you Canadians take your lacrosse pretty seriously. So whatever you say goes in that regard.
yeah. Well, I mean, it was a Jesuit school, so they really we
Okay.
had to be lacrosse.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Are there any like classes that you remember? Did you take any like on the side entrepreneurship classes or anything that you kind of set you up? I know you had a career afterwards, and we'll talk about it, but that kind of like set the you know made you a little bit ready for what was to come in your entrepreneur journey.
Yeah, definitely. So, what probably my single biggest regret of college was not taking entrepreneurship classes. And so,
Mm,
I think everybody, especially at an undergraduate business school, you start thinking, finance, investment banking, that sort of stuff. And so that's kind of where I kind of set my I don't know, my eyes on that. But I did was fortunate enough to participate in the Institute for Leadership Advancement, ILA, at the University of Georgia, and that was pretty mind blowing for me, pretty groundbreaking. It was just all about leadership, and the whole premise is being a servant leader. So basically putting others before yourself. But in terms of entrepreneurship, we had a lot of great opportunities there. Different businesses and executives would be coming in, and we would do all of these different team case studies on different scenarios. And so, in a sense, that opened my eyes to, to kind of like the potential to be an operator in-house for a business. And so that was pretty foundational for me.
Cool. I also noticed that you had you spent some time abroad in London at LSE, and then I think in Spain at the University of Cadiz.
Yeah.
I don't think you went there for the fish. So what was that all about?
Yeah. So growing up in Houston, spoke a lot of Spanish. And so, minored in Spanish at the University of Georgia and studied abroad in Cadiz, Spain. And I chose Cadiz, Spain because, I didn't really want to go to a Madrid or something like that where people, most likely spoke a lot of English. I wanted to kind of be immersed in the experience, and the fact that Cadiz is on has one of the nicest beaches in the world, called La Caleta. It's actually where they filmed one of the James Bond movies because they didn't have access to Cuba, so they went to La Caleta in Cadiz. But it was incredible. I mean, I always I don't know, like the Spanish, Spain is very regional. And so the Spanish that they speak down there in Cadiz and Andalusia is a bit different than what you learn, in the textbooks. And so it's pretty tricky training your ear to that. But, what everybody says is that you're fluent when you're able to dream in another language. And I was having dreams in Spanish in Cadiz, and that was pretty amazing. But I'm ashamed to say that it's all kind of, I'm not quite as fluent as I was back then.
Were you rolling your R's really deeply in those dreams, like la jota?
I wasn't really speaking much Spanish in the dreams, but I was listening to everybody and getting by. Can't speak enough about my time in Spain. It was amazing. And then the London School of Economics was fantastic as well. It was a quick summer program there, but took intermediate macroeconomics, and the textbook was about this thick. We got through it in 3 weeks or so, and it was a great experience, but didn't get to see as much of London as I would have liked because I was stuck in the LSE libraries.
Fair enough. That was really cool. Thanks for sharing. So after college, what did you end up doing? Where did you go work?
Yeah, so after college, I went and worked for SunTrust Bank in oil and gas investment banking in Houston. And so that was a fantastic experience. Just learning the ins and outs of the oil and gas industry. It's very strategic, and it's very like geographic, I guess. So you're focused on all these different maps and acreage plays and things like that. And there's a mix of business and operations, obviously, in finance, but then there's also, geology and all of that. And so I really enjoyed that. Nice.
That's cool. And so like, how long did you work in that before you starting Captain Experiences? Like how long were you in that?
So I was at SunTrust for a year and then went and worked in-house for an oil and gas company called Wild Horse Resources. And then they sold to Chesapeake Energy. And then, when the deal was announced, I said, hey guys, we always talk about it. Let's finally book that fishing trip. And they said, great job, Jonathan. You just nominated yourself to book us all a trip. And long story short, here we are.
So that's really funny. So it was because of like this congratulations, like little trip that the sort of, the idea for Captain Experiences was born. That's cool. So could you tell us a little bit about what happened specifically?
Yeah. So really that's what happened. We decided that we were going to book a fishing trip. And I kind of, took it upon myself to book it. And so I sat back down at my desk. I Googled Galveston fishing charters. And I mean, it really felt like just someone slapped me in the face. I was like, this is an absolute mess. What is going on here? I'm had a Google sheet about 4 pages long of all these different charters in Galveston, boat lengths, availability, phone numbers. And then I had to call them all. Some wouldn't answer, all of this different stuff. And so, I just realized, hey, people are booking fishing charters like this, but you can book an Airbnb, just like that. You can call an Uber. What's wrong with fishing? And so from there, I put a pitch deck together and I pitched some mentors and advisors. And they said, you'd be stupid not to pursue this. This is a real opportunity. And first off, that was a huge step, right? Like just, putting your ideas into a deck, consolidating them, very nervous to present that to others. And for them to say, you might have something here, but you need to go and talk to guides. So then I said, okay, and jumped in the car, drove down to Galveston, walked the docks and talked to these different guides. And they said, yeah, we're sick of being ripped off by the back office website guys. These guys that are charging us all of this money for marketing, but they're not booking us any trips. We'd love to list on a site that just made it all easy for us, had the calendar business tool for us, brought us more trips without the hassle, that sort of thing. So then I drove the opposite way to Austin, where I am today, teamed up with my co-founder, Addison, launched Captain Experiences. And yeah, that's kind of the origin story.
Cool. And I'm going to ask a couple questions later about some of the functionalities, because I think like what you guys have done doing so far is really cool. But, a step back, I guess you moved to Austin. I've heard some great things about the startup scene, but can you tell us a little bit about it from your own perspective?
Yeah, definitely. I would say that the startup scene is the only pull to Austin, but, my girlfriend had actually beaten me here. We met at the University of Georgia and she was working here in Austin. So it just made a lot of sense. My college roommate's here. My brother was here. He graduated from the University of Texas. And so, there's just a lot happening in Austin, but talking specifically about the startup scene, it's really just pretty incredible. I mean, just the density, and so, there's just so much going on in one central location, and so, what that looks like is Capital Factory is a huge piece of that. So they, are basically an all-in-one for startups. So it's, a co-working space, they have a venture arm, all of this different stuff. They have all of these different networking events. And so I started joining all of these newsletters and I was like, oh my God, they're sending me 10 different things to do every single night of the week, and so you just kind of have to pick and choose your stuff. And it's just been so helpful. And then, talent wise, there's so much talent to choose from and partner up with. So yeah, in both, the startup and tech space and the outdoors, so there's Yeti, there's Duck Camp, just a variety of others.
Yeah, and I've never heard somebody who's graduated from an accelerator program and said, I didn't do any work. Like usually they're dead afterwards. They kind of need a vacation. Okay, cool.
We did the Mass Challenge Texas Accelerator program too, and so that was nice. Great. But that was actually in Houston, yeah.
Okay, cool, very cool. And you mentioned his name right before, but how did you meet your CTO, Addison?
Yeah, so it's pretty funny. I mean, the true story is that we met at a house party. So once again, talking about that density, there's just so much going on in Austin. But we were just having beers, and Addison came up and said, "Hey, what do you do?" Just kind of that standard, I don't know how you meet people at parties. And so, usually it's like, oh, I do this or that. It's like, okay, cool. But I told him that I was working on Captain Experiences, and he was like, oh, wow, that's actually really interesting. Started digging more and more into it. We ended up talking for 4 hours straight. And so, just really hit it off. He was a product insights manager at a staffing marketplace here in Austin beforehand. So he understood all of the marketplace dynamics on both the product side and the marketing side. And so he said, hey, I can really help you understand what's going on your website with tools like Google Analytics and whatnot. And so, he just started showing me things that I was like, oh my God, this is eye-opening. I was like, we have, in my head thinking we have to get Addison on the team. How is he, how am I going to make this happen? And lo and behold, he was thinking the exact same thing. Like, wow, there's something going on here. And so we just, reconnected over beers, and we said, hey, we both really enjoy working with each other. And teamed up as co-founders.
Nice. Very cool. And so you got your co-founder, you have the idea. I guess you had a first version of the website. What was now you had to like contact and find these fishing guides. So how'd you go about it? Like, was it just find them in the phone book? Like, what did I know you knew them a little bit beforehand, but how did you go about acquiring first of all the supply, and then after that, I guess the users?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that I knew these guys at all, beforehand, but,
Okay.
now I would say that we're very close friends. There's some guides that, are really on board with what we're doing. And so, we're business partners at the end of the day. Right. So we're in the same boat there, no pun intended, but, just being able to call them and say, hey, how do you think this would work? How do you think that would work? These guides operate just how I like to operate, which is, being very upfront and, open book. And so, they would say things like, hey, if you were to do that, then I would do this, and, all that sort of stuff. So really helping us see around corners. What that allowed us to do is really nail the sales pitch for our guides. So, we have someone, John, who's our customer success manager. His dream job is just to talk to fishing guides all day. So that's exactly what he does. He calls them up and he gives them the pitch, which is, hey, we're a site that'll bring you more trips without the hassle. We'll create your profile and trip listings for you for free within 24 hours. You set your own deposit and cancellation policy, so you run your business however you'd like. We pay out directly to your bank account. All of our guides are licensed and insured, so you know that you're listed next to quality operators, and there's no risk of double bookings on your calendar. So pretty much every guide that John speaks with, says, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it. And so we sign them up, and we're off to the races.
Yeah, it's cool. And I've been on the website a couple of times, and I notice how the information is really well presented from a user standpoint. I think there's, like you mentioned, some of the tools that you guys added. Which, first off, it's really cool that you guys did it in such like quick time. And maybe I'll ask a couple questions about that later. But yeah, some of these things that you've added, like I think there's a QR code, right? That if I book an experience or a fishing charter or a trip, I get a QR code. I just show up and he scans it, and it's like, oh, welcome, Phil. How's it going? And can you talk about some of these like big improvements that you put into sort of booking process, which, when you first booked your first trip, it was like trying to call and see the calendar and all that stuff?
Yeah. I mean, it was really just thinking of, my own experiences trying to book these charters and saying, hey, what are the major pain points? Okay, it's difficult to contact the guides. It's difficult to select between different trips. It's difficult to pay. And so, yeah, what happened with the QR code system was just, really, I mean, it wasn't an overnight thing. It was thinking and thinking and thinking. And then, just coming up with the QR codes. And actually, I'm sure we'll touch on COVID and whatnot, but, I think COVID has really helped us in that regard, because now a lot of people go to restaurants and they do this other stuff, and all of the restaurants have QR codes because they don't want people passing around menus. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really helped condition people to use the QR codes. In terms of like the payment, one of the things that makes our site unique is that you can see the specific price for the exact trip that you're looking for. So you can think about pricing on a matrix. So on the x-axis, it's duration of the trip, and on the y, it's number of guests. And so, for each of those different matrices, there's a different price. Our guide has a 4-hour 2-person trip. That's one price. For a 6-hour, 6-person trip, another price. So you can go on the site, put in the duration and the number of guests you have, and it'll show you the specific price. So you can book right then and there. Whereas on other sites that probably just list one price, it just turns into a back and forth messaging game, which isn't fun for anybody.
No, yeah, that's where you lose the user, because now it's a time factor. And I think also you can search, the experience, not just like per value or per price point, but also obviously per region, but also per what you're looking for, right? If you're looking for more deep sea fishing, or, a specific thing. Can you tell us a bit about sort of the search options that a user can get when they go on Captain Experiences?
Yeah, definitely. So, the slogan that we have is search it, book it, live it, right? You can search for the exact trip you're looking for, filter by location, group size, target species, price, and more. You can watch YouTube embedded videos, read verified reviews, and that's the book it experience that I outlined, where you can find the exact price you're looking for. And then on the day of your trip, you've already been emailed your QR code. You just show up at the docks. Your guide takes a picture of that QR code. Payment transfers automatically, and you just focus on having fun with your family and friends without having to deal with ATMs or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah. Now going back, like it's cool that a lot of these guides have responded so positively to your product. What's I know you operate mostly in the Gulf area, but first off, what's the size of the market? How many fishing charters are there?
Yeah. So, fishing, first off, is actually the second most popular sport in the U.S. after walking and jogging. So it's pretty nice. Prevalent and popular. But then, in terms of fishing charters, it's about a $1 billion market. So Americans spend upwards of $900 million annually on fishing guide fees alone. And so, and that's with the status quo, with the market the way that it is, which, I think we'd all agree is less than ideal, for the reasons that we've already described. And so, what we're excited about with Captain is, we call it unlocking the outdoors for all. We're really excited to make it easy for people to book these trips. And we think that will actually grow the market, grow how much is spent, not only on fishing charters, but the grand vision is to expand across hunting, fishing, hiking, rock climbing, skydiving, rafting, you name it, because all of these different verticals are plagued by the same problem of not being able to find a reliable guide efficiently.
Cool. Very interesting. We spoke about a little bit just before about the timing factor. I kind of want to touch upon that again. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys launched in March 2020. So right, it's not ideal time frame, but you've had spectacular growth since. How, can you walk us through the journey? How did you guys handle it? How was the response? When did you see the first positive signs? And what's it like today, now that we're almost, 13 months since that launch? 13, 14
definitely.
Months.
So it was a pretty harrowing experience, launching at the height of COVID. I mean, I literally remember launching the website, and it coincided with the stock market crash in March. And so, I'm hacking away and, looking at our metrics and stuff. And in the background, CNBC is on and everybody's ripping their hair out. And I was like, oh my God, what have we done? We're starting a consumer travel platform at the height of a global pandemic. But, we really we stuck with it, and we said, hey, I think that this is actually, a positive for our business. You got to find a silver lining somehow. But we said, hey, let's talk with our guides and just see how we're going to handle this. And so we reached out to our guides, and what we realized is, all of our guides, for the most part, are independent sole proprietorships, right? So they're not, LLCs or anything like that. They don't have payroll, so they are not entitled to PPP. So there's really no protection for these guys financially, and so they've got to book trips. And so we talked with them, and we said, hey, how are we going to get through this? And they said, hey, we can run our trips safely. We're confident in that. We're going to mask up. We're going to disinfect our boats, disinfect our gear. And then on the flip side, we wrote all of that out in our response to COVID-19. We put that on our website, emailed our newsletter, and we said, hey, everybody, we're open for business in a safe and protective way. And we think it's more important now than ever to get outdoors with our guides because everybody's pent up, sitting at home. And if you get out there with the group that you've been socially distancing with, quarantining with, it can be a real relief to get back in the open outdoors and staying active. And so that's kind of how we weathered things. March and April were absolutely flat. And then May, June, July, August, everything started ramping up. And then here in 2021 with vaccines and everybody sort of returning to normal, the outdoors is having a real, explosion, if you will. And so we're right there at the forefront, being that gateway for everyone to get out there.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm glad that hey, you were at the right time to provide something that would help them even more. Had you not been around, it would have been even more difficult, I guess, in a way for a lot of these guides. And my experience from from knowing that a lot of people were now really interested in the outdoors was I was at Canadian Tire, which is, you know, I guess a competitor of Walmart here north of the border. So
Yeah.
you have everything there. And I had broken one of my rods, so I went to get an extra rod. And somebody thought I was an employee, or it looked like I knew a lot about fishing, and started asking me questions. So that's how many people are really into the outdoors these days.
Yeah.
How many guides are on Captain Experiences today?
Yeah. So we're sitting right at 400 as we speak, and most of those are here in Texas.
Cool. And like you said before, all these people or all these guides are vetted before they're even on the platform. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah. So we create their profile and trip listings for the guides for free,
Okay.
and then before we take them live, they send over their license and insurance.
Nice. You spoke about it really briefly, but you had plans for expanding into other with other guides and other outdoor activities, and you mentioned a couple of them. Is there one or two that are really like higher up that list that you want to target before the others?
Yeah, I mean, I would say hunting is definitely first on the list, just because there's so much overlap between hunting and fishing. It's kind of like a square and a rectangle type of thing where everyone who hunts also fishes, and so. But then you look at the supply side as well, and a lot of our guides have been actually pushing us to expand into hunting. So they say, hey, we also offer duck and dove hunts in the winter and around fishing, and so we'd love to list all of our trips on one site, on one calendar with you guys. So hurry up with it. But we're trying to say, hey, we're really focused on getting things right, on finding that product market fit, and I think that we're getting really close.
Nice. I'm so glad to hear that, all these B2B partnerships that you guys have been doing have really like drastically helped you in improving the product. It's a great success story in sort of not just the travel industry, but the experience in itself. If the guide is happy with it, then it kind of reflects into the end user, and the end user even has a better experience. And then it's just a circle of people that are enjoying the coming together, basically. On the user side, what did you guys do? Like, how do people find you? Because we spoke about the guides and the charters, but on the user side, how can you attribute your success that you've been getting?
Yeah, I mean, I would really just say it comes down to scrappiness, and so myself, my co-founder Addison and I, we really we quickly decided, hey, search engine optimization, ranking, on these engines like Google, Bing, and others, is really going to be our primary channel, for customer acquisition. And once again, it just goes back to, the problem situation. When I was working in oil and gas, I went back to my desk and I Googled Galveston fishing charters. Well, boom, there you go. No need to reinvent the wheel. And so, we really just tried to, learn as much as possible about search engine optimization, meet with as many individuals as possible. And, we put a playbook together from there. And yes, it takes, a lot of man hours, a lot of long nights, but we've been able to kind of crack the code. And so now if you Google something like Galveston fishing charters, coming full circle, you'll actually see Captain Experiences as the #1 organic listing there.
Nice. Very nice. 2 episodes ago, or 3 episodes ago, I had a French entrepreneur who has basically a very big travel website, and he said the exact same thing as you. So I'm really glad that this is becoming a common theme of just, you got to try. It's going to be scrappy, but the results will come.
Yeah.
What's going a little bit into, the journey. You're now an entrepreneur. You built a platform with Addison, and now you have employees, a brand. You're helping these private entrepreneurs in increasing their businesses. Did you ever think this was what you're going to do after you graduated from college?
Absolutely not. I mean, if you had told me graduating college that you would be making a living, booking fishing trips or, in the outdoors even, I would say, No, you probably not. You got the wrong guy or something. But yeah, I mean, now that Addison and I are working on Captain, and I mean, it just feels like there's nothing else that we could be doing in the world, really. I mean, it's just really rewarding work to get groups and families out on these trips and bring these guides more business, and read those 5-star reviews and watch those videos when we're getting tagged and that sort of stuff. It's just it's fantastic, really.
Nice. And that's really cool, that part of where, first of all, that there's videos. I noticed that in the charters, but that people, make a clip out of it. And then, I saw what, like, I think there was one of them, if I remember correctly, was like, they had the whole thing where, like, they went on the charter, they caught the fish, and then they stayed at a house nearby and they cooked that fish.
Yep.
That's really cool. Can you tell us, like, have people, like, have these end users talked to you and said, like, man, that was unbelievable, like, what an experience? What kind of things did they tell you?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say the greatest validation is repeat bookings, and so we're really strong in that regard. People coming back to us, and we call our customers bucket listers, or our adventurers bucket listers, because people in fishing in the outdoors, it's all about that bucket list experience. So it's, people want to catch a redfish in Texas, and then they want to catch, a tuna out of Venice in Louisiana, and then they want to catch a tarpon in Florida. And they're coming back to Captain Experiences to book each of those trips. And so, I mean, that's just fantastic, to be able to help people in their journey as anglers. And then, as we continue to expand, it's helping people in their journey to become, adventurers in the outdoors, right? And so doing all of this different stuff, backpacking, hiking, rock climbing, skydiving, that's what we're excited about. Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, in terms of one story, I would share, this guy, Matt, booked with us. He was actually referred to us by Captain Larry, one of our guides in Rockport, because he had reached out to Captain Larry saying, "Hey, I'm trying to book a trip in Galveston." So Captain Larry said, "Hey, call Captain Experiences. They partner with all these great guides. They'll get you out there." So Matt booked with Captain Harry in Galveston, and they went out. His review, was like, "Oh, it was blowing sideways. It was really choppy out there. I took my son out, and he caught his personal best redfish because Captain Harry grinded it out." Previously we had tried to book a different guide, and we got left at the docks. He just no-showed us. And so, Captain Experiences really, stepped up and got us out there and put my son on his personal best redfish. And so that sort of thing is what it's all about.
That's cool. Thank you for sharing that story. That's really cool.
Of course.
Okay, I'm gonna ask some really, really specific questions. But what is the most in-demand fish in the Gulf of Mexico right now, like that people would really like to catch? And what is also the most difficult fish to catch, I guess, in deep sea fishing?
Yeah. Let's see. Those are tough. Okay, so the most in demand fish would probably be redfish. People just really sort of gravitate towards redfish. They're hard fighting. It's just an absolute thrill to catch them, and you can catch them in a variety of ways. So you can catch them, wade fishing in the bays of Texas. You can catch them drift fishing from the boat. You can catch them at the jetties, which are these giant man-made structures. And then you can also catch them offshore at rigs. And so, redfish fishing is just really popular. But right now, red snapper fishing is also really popular. And so that's a full day offshore fishing charter. And the season for that opens June 1st. And red snapper are just really hard fighting as well. And they're delicious table fare. And so people are really starting to book those trips up now.
Cool. Thank you for sharing that. When you're going to be expanding, so you're expanding in other outdoor activities and as well with charters elsewhere. Do you have any specific locations that are your target? Because I know you kind of operate a lot in the Gulf of Mexico right now, but beyond like Texas, Florida, Louisiana, where are the states that you're particularly targeting?
Yeah, I mean those are some of the states that we're definitely targeting. Florida is a big one. And so, in our research, if you look at the top 10 states in the U.S. Based on guide fees, they split up Florida into East Florida and West Florida. And the west coast of Florida, the Gulf Coast of Florida, is like number one, is its own state, and the East Coast is 8 or 9. So that just shows you, wow. how massive the market is in Florida. And so we're really excited to expand into Florida. But it'd be hard to say one specific place, because really the value in Captain just increases exponentially as we expand across all of these different geographies. And so being able to facilitate trips everywhere from, San Diego, where they have great tuna and yellowtail fishing, to, Cape Cod, where there's great striper fishing and all this other stuff. Just being able to cover it all. And then freshwater as well, the Rockies, the Midwest. We could be here all day just kind of daydreaming about all that stuff.
But we might as well talk. There was one question I wanted to talk about, specifically about the Gulf of Mexico. I think it's been now 10 years since the Deepwater Horizon, incident. Do you feel like the area has recovered a bit from it, or are your partners and the fish, or the ecosystem, still feeling the repercussions from that?
Yeah, definitely. And that's a great question, because that's actually something that we ask, our guides when we interview them, is, what happened, how did the BP oil spill, the Deepwater Horizon spill, affect fishing? And, it's been really interesting. So a lot of our, first off, the fishing right now in Louisiana is better than it's ever been. They're catching monster tuna, monster swordfish. The inshore fishing for redfish and speckled trout is fantastic. The Chandelier Islands are on fire. It's just it's as hot as it could be. And the Louisiana limits reflect that. So they have pretty generous limits if you're looking to catch and keep or catch and cook. But in terms of the spill itself, it was pretty difficult for a lot of our guides, but they're resilient guys, those Cajuns. And so, they said things like, hey, we've been through, pretty bad storms and hurricanes, and, business has kind of, disappeared in those situations. But what was interesting to hear them talk about with the Deepwater Horizon spill is that they were actually employed by the state of Louisiana and by others, other nonprofits, to help with, the recovery. And so they would these groups would hire our charter captains to boat them out to help with the recovery and help with the habitat. And so that was an interesting takeaway.
Wow. Thank you. Actually, I was not up to date, and that was really helpful information. And from your guys' end, like I know you have some analytics and whatnot, but are there any positive trends that, from your point of view, show a strong recovery in the region?
Yeah, I should brush up on the numbers, but just in talking kind of qualitatively with our guides, they're finding fish, they're staying on them, they're sending in pictures that would blow your mind. So, Louisiana is definitely, alive and well.
Cool. That's awesome. I'm really happy to hear that. Cool. Well, that's, it's really cool what you guys are doing. I'm not going to put you on the pedestal and like hold you to it, but when do you think is do you have a date in mind for when you guys plan to expand to these other outdoor activities? We're always trying to, push the envelope with that, but, we're hoping to be able to expand into, a few of these different verticals, this fall, if not next, ahead of hunting season. Okay. But, we're just, trying to take it one step at a time, with fishing, and really make sure that we nail it, and we're able to facilitate these trips in the best and most seamless way possible. Very cool. If there are fishing guides or, outdoor guides, or even users, or even people who just want to talk to you and reach out and maybe talk business or even fishing, what's the best way they can reach you?
Yeah, so they can reach us at captainexperiences.com. They can give us a call to talk fishing at any time at 833-CAPTAIN. That's 833-227-8246. Other than the website and via phone, they can reach out to us on, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, all the social media platforms. And yeah, we have a chat window on the site. So if you reach out there, you'll get myself, you'll get Addison, or you'll get John. That's just a big piece of it to us, is the personal touch. So, we try to be the best of both worlds, marrying tech with that kind of, that sort of angle.
Well, I appreciate it. I've been looking at your website for quite some time now. I can't wait to be able to travel down south soon and check it out and experience it for myself. Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on the pod, dude. It's been this was really fun.
Awesome, Philippe. Yeah, I really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll have to get out on the water soon. We'll make it happen.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, have a good fishing season.
Awesome. Take care. Thank you.
Bye.